to Adventures with Ariel. This is a very special video because I have my twin sister Alix here with me.
Hey guys.
Yeah, it's been over a year since she's been here.
Super excited to be back.
I'll usually do full-on research or I'll write a script for my videos, but today I want this to be more of a discussion. We're going to be talking about the recent trend of Disney remakes, and we're going to be talking about what or whom could be responsible for them. So stay tuned. So we've had a record-breaking number of Disney remakes released this year.
It's been catastrophic.
Yes. We had the live-action Dumbo released in March, Aladdin in May, and in just a few weeks, The Lion King will be hitting theaters. Aladdin, so far, has made big bank, and The Lion King is sure to do the same. But Dumbo was a bit of a disappointment, both critically and financially. Dumbo's ticket sales were a far cry from 2017's Beauty and the Beast, which grossed $1.26 billion worldwide. That's crazy. This was the film, I believe, that showed the power of millennial nostalgia. The two largest demographic groups who saw the movie were millennials aged 26 to 34, and unsurprisingly, of course, kids under 12. But you know what? I think there's a good reason Dumbo failed, while Beauty and the Beast flourished. Millennials grew up in that wondrous era known as the Disney Renaissance. It was an era that spanned from 1989 to 1999, where Disney returned to making musical animated films based around well-known stories, or fairy tales. These films were both critically and commercially successful and included the likes of Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, and The Lion King. As kids, millennials also consumed media much differently than their parents, or the silent generation who saw the release of Dumbo. So thanks to VHS tapes, they could watch the Renaissance movies again and again, memorizing songs and catchphrases. The Renaissance period also saw the home release of classics like The Jungle Book, meaning millennials watched older Disney movies on repeat as well. That might explain why the 2016 Jungle Book remake grossed nearly $1 billion. The original was consistently a top seller among video releases in the 1990s, along with Aladdin and Beauty and the Beast. Now I know what you're thinking, why didn't Dumbo do well then? Well, Dumbo didn't even crack the top 10 list in those 1990 releases. It doesn't surprise me that Dumbo was a bit of a disappointment, especially in the box office. I just don't think that movie resonated with millennials as well, and I think millennials are really the reason that these Disney remakes are going so strong in the box office.
Now, I was just thinking that even though Beauty and the Beast and Aladdin, I believe, have been way more successful at the box office, that Cinderella definitely did a lot better than Dumbo. Cinderella is a story that everybody's familiar with, and I feel like there's just so much updating they could do with the story and the characters.
For sure.
We're living in a hashtag woke generation. No, I'm just kidding, but I mean, no, you're right. You're right.
This is very much a woke generation. Yeah, so they're gonna make changes to the story, like Cinderella is gonna be a more fleshed out, stronger character. You're gonna see the relationship between her and the prince develop, have more depth to it. Not that she just falls in love with a guy after one night of meeting him.
You definitely saw this in Beauty and the Beast and Aladdin as well, with Belle and Jasmine's characters.
Yeah, female empowerment is a common theme you see in these movies. Belle becomes an inventor. Now Jasmine wants to be the Sultan. A lot of things added to these movies that make it very clear that Disney is taking notice of these people who have these little nitpicks and complaints about these films, and Disney's thinking, okay, well, how can we have it appeal to those who want our already strong female characters to be just that much stronger? And especially with those older movies like Cinderella, there's more room for that. Video essayist Lindsay Ellis has spoken a lot on this topic. For those of you who don't know, a millennial herself, she's well known for her videos that analyze Disney movies, including one that expresses her strong dislike for the Beauty and the Beast remake. You know the video on the front, it says, "Thanks, I hate it." So Lindsay says, quote, "As a generation, millennials have retained this intense affinity for their childhood media. They still watch it. Millennials might have been the first generation that had decent enough childhood media that it's worth revisiting. Before Disney started remaking their more modern classics from the 90s that don't even seem that old if you grew up in the 90s. But before that happened, we were seeing Nickelodeon cartoons getting the reboot. We saw Full House. Yeah, Fuller House.
Gilmore Girls on Netflix.
Will and Grace on Netflix. Boy Meets World got Girl Meets World.
Roseanne.
I really think millennials are the first generation where we see this big nostalgia boom on the internet.
I don't know, I do feel like we have this sort of power on social media to impact media such as movies and TV shows.
We were this first generation to talk about our childhood on the internet.
Yeah, exactly.
So many people asked for these remakes. I feel like there was this
so many
big...
people were asking, or they were like, oh, Emma Watson would make the perfect Belle.
Right, and then she became Belle.
Yeah.
So people are petitioning for these beloved TV shows and movies to make a comeback online, and they are. I mean, studios, they listen and they follow through with it, and there's that power because they know millennials ask for it online, and if they get it, yeah, they're gonna be showing up in theaters, they're gonna be streaming that new show. You know, it's gonna happen because there is that kind of power. I agree with you. So Lindsay also says that Disney is banking on this intense nostalgia to draw audiences. The power of nostalgia also means that the movies don't actually have to be good or even as good as the originals to make a ton of money. I think they just need to be remakes, she says. You know, these remakes have been released consistently since 2014, I would say.
Yeah.
And people are finding comfort in that they can go see these remakes, relive their childhood, and they find comfort in that they know what they're gonna expect.
Yeah.
With the recent onslaught of, like I said, millennial nostalgia, these remakes are all a slam dunk in the box office. Disney, they have a huge catalog of animated movies to mine for live action films. So there's both a Mulan remake and a sequel to the Jungle Book remake set for 2020. But the company, which we still think of as an animation powerhouse, is releasing fewer original animated movies. That's the thing here. Walt Disney Animation Studios' last non-sequel film was Moana in 2016, and Pixar's most recent original film was Coco in 2017. In a schedule of upcoming releases, Disney listed 4 untitled live-action films slated for release in both 2021 and 2022, along with just one animated feature for each of those years. We don't really think of when we think of Disney as their live action films, but there's a heavy focus on live action films that didn't used to be there. There's 3 or 4 live action films in one year. That's insane.
Disney has figured out that they have something great going business-wise and they are not gonna stop.
People are loving it. There was so much positive response to the Lion King trailer. Obviously, it brings back those warm nostalgia, fuzzy nostalgia feels.
Yeah.
Especially for people our age who were kids when The Lion King came out. We were watching it on VHS on repeat.
And even if you're skeptical, you just can't help but be curious to watch these remakes. They're just that sense of curiosity. Because the source of it is just so dear and personal to you that you just can't help but be curious to see a different take on it. And yeah.
You know what? And if the studio keeps making more remakes than original animated features, it could eventually run out of nostalgia-heavy intellectual property to remake. But Lindsay thinks that Disney may not need it. She says, I think Disney's thinking, well, maybe we don't need new IP. Maybe we just need to repackage the IP we have every 10 years or so. So that's what Lindsay says about it. So I guess she suspects that if Disney runs out of movies to mine for new hits, you know, they could just start doing more sequels and reimaginings, like Alice Through the Looking Glass,
the upcoming Maleficent 2 and the Jungle Book 2.
Right. So the possibilities are endless with these, and there's no telling when this trend is going to stop. Is it a good thing or a bad thing?
It's a very difficult question.
It is a very difficult question. I mean, the company knows how to make money on beloved, familiar characters, both in and out of movie theaters, and it's done it before. In the middle of the Renaissance era, in the 90s, Disney began to produce a ton of direct-to-video sequels. They were sequels to films like Aladdin, The Lion King, and The Little Mermaid. So they were largely produced by a separate studio, and they had significantly lower animation costs. It really showed in the final production. It did.
Yeah. Just a huge downgrade in terms of animation, usually story, characters, writing. I mean, I'm not gonna start putting down these sequels, but
I couldn't be more happy that they're over.
Yeah, let's just say that. These sequels did very well on VHS. A lot of people still remember them fondly because they continued the stories of their favorite animated films, so.
Yeah, and back to what Lindsay said, these Disney remakes don't necessarily have to be amazing to make a lot of money. Obviously, people are going to still see them.
And maybe enjoy them.
Right.
Yeah.
And that leads us into our next question. So like the direct-to-video sequels, is this new remake trend cheapening the Disney brand. In the years to come, when we look back at these remakes as being cash grabs, having no reason to exist.
To some degree, I mean, I know a lot of people think like that, but at the same time, I have relatively enjoyed, most of these remakes, and I think a few of them, like Cinderella and Jungle Book, are even slightly better films than the originals. I think a lot of people do enjoy these modern remakes, for what they are. They might not think they're better than the originals, but they just enjoy seeing a different interpretation, or they might even enjoy them more than the original movies for certain reasons.
Me personally, I think there needs to be fewer of these remakes.
Yeah, I agree.
If there is a remake, I would like for there to be a very good reason for it to exist. Maybe the original film didn't perform that well in theaters like Treasure Planet or Atlantis, or maybe the original film didn't tell its story very well. Like The Black Cauldron, which many see as being one of the worst Disney films, a remake could really improve upon that story. I want Disney to get back to its animation roots and for really that to be its focus and to continue making original content. We need to create a sort of new Disney magic for this new generation. If we're just trying to, satisfy the nostalgia of people our age, then what is this new generation gonna have that they can kind of call their own? Like we could call Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, Lion King, those were our films that we grew up with in the 90s. What is this new generation going to have? That's my question. They are getting that every once in a while with movies like Moana and Zootopia, all fantastic movies. When Disney creates original content, they do it very, very well.
Yeah,
so just keep it up, Disney. When we were growing up, we had those re-releases of movies that our parents grew up with. There's nothing wrong with releasing new movies that satisfy the nostalgia of older audiences, and it gives them a way to reintroduce those movies that they grew up with to their kids. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just, it's starting to feel oversaturated.
People find comfort in revisiting their favorite stories from their childhood that they're so familiar with, and Disney knows that. And Disney finds comfort in it because they know that because these movies are so popular and so beloved that they are probably gonna make bank off of it. So they're not taking any creative risk.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Thank you so much, Alix, for joining me today. This was so much fun.
It's been so long. I was so happy to be here, and I hope that you guys liked me being here. I wasn't some weird new addition. I hope you guys like me. Okay.
Yeah, when it comes to Disney, she knows her stuff. On this channel, I love to talk about how Disney plays upon our nostalgia in order to appeal to all ages with its movies. If you're interested in that kind of thing yourself, I would highly recommend checking out last week's video. I'll put the card right up there, or up there. I can't remember where it pops up, but it's on how Toy Story brought back a generation of classic toys. It's good, y'all. Well, thank you. And remember to hit that subscribe button down below, as well as that notification bell, so you'll be notified every time I post a new video.
And if you enjoyed it enough, which I hope you did, give it a thumbs up. A like.
Give it a like.
Yeah.
All right, y'all, thank you so much for watching.
Thank you.
And as always, say it with me, Alix, have a magical day.